Every Tuesday, I rank my waiver wire pickups for every single position. This is the fantasy playoff edition of my Week 14 waiver wire pickups. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching the couch. I was actually going to rank Jacoby Brissett number 1, but with Ebron on IR, T.Y. Hilton likely out another week, Paris Campbell may or may not play, he's hurt, Funchess hurt, and now Chester Rogers is out. He just doesn't have enough weapons. This is good for Jack Doyle as a check down target, as a red zone target, but not really good for Jacoby Brissett. If the Colts were fully healthy, they had all their receivers, this would be a sweet matchup against the Bucs. But I'm just going to have to rank Brissett down, and you don't really want to pick him up and start him in the playoffs now. You just can't trust him. A guy you can trust has actually been a QB1, has actually been very consistent, very reliable, Ryan Tannehill. I feel like I'm yelling. I don't know why. Going against the Raiders, for some reason, Vegas has this somewhat close and is favoriting the Titans to win by 2.5 points. That's actually really good for Tannehill. That means he might have to throw it just a little bit. Don't necessarily have to abandon the passing game altogether in a close game like this. It's those lopsided games where teams just abandon the pass and just run out the clock. But hey, Vegas, they're usually right. I don't believe them. But yeah. Good matchup. Ryan Tannehill's reliable. Go ahead, pick him up and start him if you need a quarterback. This video is sponsored by monkeyknifefight.com. It's a super easy, simple way to play daily fantasy prop games such as over-under, fantasy challenge, and my favorite, the touchdown dance, where you pick 3 players, and if they score touchdown, you get to dance. I love playing on here because it only takes about a minute to enter the contest that I want to enter, and I don't have to compete with like 10,000 other sharks. So head on over to monkeyknifefight.com, or better yet, follow the link below in the description and use promo code COUCH when you deposit. That way you'll get a 100% deposit match up to $50. Again, head on over to the link in the description and use promo code COUCH. Now back to the waivers. Now the rest of these guys, you don't really want to pick up and start in week 14, but I do try to help out those owners that are in dual quarterback leagues, super flex leagues, and super deep leagues. So we have Sam Darnold going against the Dolphins. Risky, but every quarterback performs extremely well against the Dolphins. It's almost every single week this happens. Maybe Darnold's the one guy who hasn't done so well against the Dolphins, but I think he'll be fine. Gardner Minshew going up against the Chargers. Nick Foles is not the starter. Minshew is the starter in Jacksonville. Ryan Fitzpatrick going against the Jets. We already discussed Jacoby Brissett in a sweet matchup, but Colts offensive players are really banged up. Then we have Kyle Allen, Andy Dalton, Devlin Hodges in a sweet matchup against the Cardinals, Drew Lock going against the Texans, and David assuming Stafford's not going to play. For running backs, I put Benny Snell here. I mean, he's already added in your leagues, but if he's not, for some reason, he is a good 1-week rental. It seems like James Conner probably won't play week 14, but he'll probably be back week 15. I'm just assuming there. We don't know when Connor is coming back, but all I'm thinking is he's coming back soon. Then we have Alexander Madison. Look, Dalvin Cook is close to 99% chance he's going to play week 14, and Cook is going to be okay. So anywhere between 95 to 99% chance. But I think that's enough to scare Dalvin Cook owners to get Alexander Madison. Get your handcuff. Look, I've said maybe 20, 25 times to go get Alexander Madison, even if you don't own Dalvin Cook. And now everyone's going to add him just in case. It was quite the scare when Dalvin Cook went down. So Darrell Williams, the Chiefs running back, is likely not going to play. Now, I hope I'm getting this right because I get these names confused. But Darrell Williams, unlikely to play week 14. Damian Williams missed this past week with an injury. Now, he might be back. So we have Darrell Williams probably out. Damian Williams maybe coming back. So regardless, you do want to add Darwin Thompson. He's a really good, really talented running back. He has some upside. He has a tough matchup against the Patriots, but still, you want to stack up on these running backs. Probably not going to start Darwin Thompson, but hey, he's your RB5, he's your RB6. You never know what's going to happen the following week. It's good to have some depth at this RB position. Then we have Raheem Mostert, a roller coaster, a running back roulette with the Niners backfield. And now guess what? Raheem Mostert's the best runner that the Niners have. Who would have thought? I always said he runs really tough, but I didn't think he'd really be that valuable in fantasy other than just having him as a backup, or if Breida and Coleman got hurt. But man, this guy is really good. Like I said before with Darwin, you're probably not going to start him this week against the Saints, but he's definitely worth an add on your team. He might be your RB5 or something like that. Then we have Peyton Barber, another running back roulette with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When we thought Rojo was the guy, he wasn't, and then we thought Rojo was the guy, and now he's not. Again, Peyton Barber performed really well week 13, and it came as quite a shock to me. Nyheim Hines, since the Colts are so banged up at pass catchers, Nyheim Hines has a lot of value in PPR leagues. And so if you're considering starting Hines, you want to check off a few boxes. So if Marlon Mack is out, that's going to boost Hines' value. He's going to get more snaps. If you're in a full PPR league, that's a boost for Hines. He'll get more fantasy points. He's a really good pass catcher, not really a power back in between the tackles type of back. Although he can do that, and he showed a little bit of that week 13, a little bit of a surprise there. The Colts get behind in the game, which could happen. Nyheim Hines, he'll get more snaps. If they're missing T.Y. Hilton and other receivers, we already know they're going to be missing Ebron, then Nyheim Hines gets a boost. So keep that in mind. 10, 11, 12 fantasy points, very likely for a guy like Hines. Then in super deep leagues, we got Balaj, who's just been placed on IR by the Dolphins. So Patrick Laird, he's pretty good in PPR leagues. Keep in mind, I'm talking about super deep leagues here. Like, you probably don't want to start a Dolphins running back in the playoffs by any means. And we have Jalen Richard if you're in full PPR, and Chris Thompson if you're in full PPR as well. There's not going to be any wide receivers that are going to help you. There's no more bye weeks. It's the playoffs. You're probably not going to add any of these guys and start them right away. But just in case, like some of these top 5, top 6, even I'd say top 9, like anyone on this page, really, if they're available, they should make for good depth. Like Robbie Anderson, he's probably not available in your leagues, but some leagues, people have dropped him. I just added Robbie Anderson off free agency a few weeks ago, and all of us, I mean, I wasn't too confident in him, but all of a sudden, he's being used. He's the number 1 receiver on the team all of a sudden. Probably won't last. Probably go back to Crowder. Still worth a pickup. Good matchup against the Dolphins. And then we have Sterling Shepard. Similar scenario. Some people dropped him because he was hurt. He's the number 1 receiver on the Giants. Worth an add. Nelson Aguilar might have a little bit of a bounce back game. We've seen him do it in the past, put up some good fantasy points, and he's got a good matchup against the Giants. The Eagles really need this win. Eagles and Cowboys battling it out to see who's going to win that division. Somehow Washington's still in it too. Anthony Miller really shown that he's a good wide receiver with Taylor Gabriel out. Gabriel suffered his 2nd concussion, so no telling how long he's going to be out. Anthony Miller averaging a stunning 16 fantasy points per game the last 3 games. James Washington's super amazing matchup against the Cardinals. Juju Smith-Schuster is likely going to miss week 14, and James Washington is the guy. Devlin Hodges and Washington, they go duck hunting. They're good friends, and oh boy, this is a sweet matchup to where I would not be shocked if James Washington got over 20 fantasy points. Now, I have these slashes in between these tight ends, wide receivers, because Ryan Tannehill spreads the ball a lot. He spreads it out so much that usually during the game, he'll throw a touchdown to a receiver I've never heard of. It will be the fifth string wide receiver, and it's just tough. So I'm just going to say the best tight ends wide receiver, the one I project to score the most points, is going to be A.J. Brown. And then you got a guy like Adam Humphries who gets like 1 or 2 targets and scores a touchdown. Then you have Corey Davis, who we thought was the number 1 wide receiver, but maybe it's A.J. Brown. So a little bit of a messy situation here. We're basically seeing just like a running back by committee, but this is wide receiver by committee type of situation here as far as fantasy owners are concerned. Then we have John Ross, who you might even be able to add to your IR spot, because he might have that IR with a designation to return tag. It just depends on how your league is set up and what designation he has in your league. Nonetheless, he will be active week 14. He's worth a stash. Then we have Zach Pascal. Good matchup. Don't trust him at all. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got 4 fantasy points or 14 fantasy points or maybe even more than that this week. He's going to be, he might be the number 1 wide receiver on that team if Hilton can't go. A lot of injuries, a lot of bad luck for the Colts. A good team, and they just been losing some close games, and Adam Vinatieri's been losing it for them. But what is this? Is this the Colts channel? No. This is Fantasy Football Channel. Then we have Russell Gage, Cole Beasley, worth an add in PPR leagues, but not really any good matchups, unfortunately. The next 3 games going against the Ravens, Steelers, and Patriots. Dante Johnson likely will be the number 2 receiver for the Steelers, assuming Juju can't go. And in super deep leagues, we have Alan Lazard, Kelvin Harmon, and Christian Blake if Julio can't go. Looking at this list, you're probably not going to be able to add any of these top tight ends, just being realistic. David Njoku is your best bet, but if you guys have an IR spot in your league and you got someone like me, definitely Njoku's owned. Ryan Griffin's probably owned. Jason Witten still slept on a little bit. I think Jonnu Smith is worth an add, and I would consider starting him. As far as tight ends go, I know he's been terrible the last few weeks, but as far as tight ends go, I do actually trust him. Going against the Raiders traditionally haven't been that good at defending the tight end position. And with Delaney Walker out, you could do a lot worse. Look, Jacob Hollister, great ad. And he's probably owned in your leagues. Look at that sweet matchup. He's got the Cardinals in the fantasy football playoffs. In the fantasy football Super Bowl. And we have David Njoku. I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know his snap count. Ryan Griffin, a great matchup. The Dolphins aren't necessarily bad at defending the tight end position, but they're just bad overall. So you don't have a lot of choices if you have bad tight end luck like me. So Jonnu Smith looking pretty nice this week with all these injuries and woes at the tight end position. Then we have Jimmy Graham, Mike Gesicki. Decent matchups. I think Mike Gesicki's finally starting to come to his own. Not an elite tight end. I'm not saying he's great, but he could be decent. We know he's getting targets, and that's pretty much everything. That's a lot. I guess Noah Fant doesn't do much with his targets, but usually if you're getting your targets consistently, we like that in fantasy. So good matchups. Last 5 games, these are the targets he's been getting. 6, then 6, then 6, then 7 and 7. So we know he's got a good floor, at least as far as targets are concerned. Hey, he's going to get at least 5-6 targets this game. Pencil that in. Darren Fells, Kyle Rudolph, who will get a huge boost if Thielen is out. I've been very impressed with how Kyle Rudolph has played. He did very well week 13 Monday Night Football against the Seahawks. Let's see how he does in the lines. But like I'm saying, he gets a huge boost if Thielen is out. He gets and keep him around right here if Thielen is in. Even if Thielen does play, I think Rudolph has earned some targets and will get a good amount of snaps. Tyler Higbee will get a huge boost if Gerald Everett can go. And even if Gerald Everett can go, I don't think he's going to be getting a lot of snaps. I doubt he's going to be anywhere near 100%. And we have Noah Fant, who's pretty talented, but hasn't really put it together. He might be good in about 2 years, but Not really this year, just super risky and not a lot of upside for him. Also, Greg Olsen suffered a concussion. I think he was knocked out cold is what it seemed like, as the ball just popped out of his hands and he fumbled as soon as he got hit. Pretty nasty hit there for Greg Olsen. Just seems unlikely that he's going to play week 14, especially now that the season's pretty much over for the Panthers and they fired their head coach Ron Rivera. We have OJ Howard, who you can't trust, and Caden Smith, super duper deep sleeper. Decent matchups here: Dolphins, Washington, and only if Evan Ingram and Rhett Ellison are out, though. The Eagles defense failed us last week, and they failed us quite badly. But they should be able to do some things the next couple of weeks. They're going against the Giants. They're going against Washington. You don't really want to start them against the Cowboys, but in a deep league, I would consider doing it. This is the Eagles here, guys. They have a good upside. They have good players, but you just can't trust them at all. It's quite unfortunate. It's tough to rank them number one. So I'm just going to say, I think the Eagles have the opportunity to score over 20 fantasy points against the Giants. I really do. I really think their upside is that high. Danny Dimes, this guy throws a lot of picks, fumbles the ball all the time. He's just a turnover machine. I like Danny Dimes. I think he's talented. I think he's good. But this is his rookie year, and he's going to continue to make really bad mistakes. Eagles, if they can be opportunistic, they might allow some touchdowns. They might allow some big plays. But then again, they'll force some turnovers and get to Danny Dimes. The Vikings, little bit weird that they're on this list. They used to be owned in like 80% of leagues, but now they're owned closer to 60% of leagues. They might be available going against the Lions. This is a sweet matchup, okay? You could do a lot worse. The Vikings aren't that trustworthy, but just going straight on the matchup, they will dominate this game. They will be really good. And I think some fantasy owners have lost trust in the Vikings D. So this is realistic. You can be able to get them and have a certain amount of trust this week against the Lions. I'm assuming Matthew Stafford is going to be out. Driscoll's been placed on IR, so they're going with David Blau here. Browns going against the Bengals. Browns should dominate this game. Jets going against the Dolphins. And then we're getting a little bit deeper league territory here. Texans D going against the Broncos. Look, Texans D hasn't been that great, but just like I said with the Vikings, this is a good matchup. Broncos don't have a lot of weapons. They got Cortland Sutton, and they have a couple running backs that are okay, but haven't done much in several weeks. They have the Jaguars D going against Phillip Rivers. Has Phillip Rivers retired and not told us, and is just playing with his 9 kids? And I mean, I think that's what's going on, and we just don't know yet. We haven't got the memo yet. Titans D going against the Raiders. Cowboys D going against the Bears. Chargers D going against the Jags. Colts D going against the Bucks. Jameis Winston's been known to turn it over from time to time. Seahawks D going against the Rams. Cardinals D going against the Steelers. The reason I have the Cardinals D here, they're not good, but this will be a low-scoring game. And just keep in mind, we're talking about 20-team league territory here. Like, we're talking about really deep leagues. Probably don't want to start the Cardinals D, even if you're in a 16-team league. And we have the Buccaneers D going against the Colts. Maybe Vinatieri misses his field goals. Maybe Jacoby Brissett only throws for 199 yards. And they do a couple things. I really like some of the players on the Bucs. They have really good run defense, really good front seven. Their secondary just hasn't been that good. But yeah, there is some hope here in a game like this where all the Colts players are hurt. For kickers, and look, I know for most of you it's probably impossible to rank kickers, but I'm actually fairly confident in the top 3 kickers. Then after that, yeah, it's pretty much a crapshoot, which is how people view kickers in general. Not how I view it. Not on this channel. Not I. No. Jake Elliott, I've been telling people to add him the last week or two just so many times. I even added him in my 20-team league 2 weeks ago, knowing that he's just going to have a great 3-week stretch against the Dolphins, the Giants, and against Washington. And even against the Cowboys, it's not the worst team to have Jake Elliott. Like, he's still formidable. Not ideal week 16, though, when he faces Dallas. Okay. But against the Giants, against Washington, I'm telling you, he's going to be great. Add him, start him. If you don't have a top-notch kicker, I absolutely love Jake Elliott. I have him in every single league except one. And man, this guy actually won me a couple of my matchups last week. He did very well. He missed his first field goal, though, last week. He was perfect before that. Like I said, I love him. Mason Crosby. This is the type of game where Crosby's going to shine. It's a home game. Packers are heavy favorites. Crosby's going to be comfortable. Great matchup. It's just everything's lined up for Crosby to be really good. And then a similar situation with Kyrie Fairbairn. The Texans are at home. They'll be comfortable. They'll have a lead. Fairbairn will be attempting a lot of field goals and extra points. Love these top three kickers. And then yeah, you can battle me on any of these. Like, really, it is a crapshoot. Like, Jason Myers could be good. Sam Ficken, I don't trust, but he could be good. Austin Seibert, he could be really good, but he's somewhat inaccurate, trustworthy. So it's just all over the place. I have Dan Bailey ranked kind of high because it is a home game. They'll have a lead against the Lions, and it's in a dome. But Dan Bailey just really hasn't been as great as he once was the past two plus years. He used to be really accurate, really trustworthy when he was in the Cowboys back in his heyday, back in his kicking day. And yeah, we got a guy like Ryan Suckup who just hasn't put up any points in over a year. Like, the matchup is decent. Like, we just can't trust him. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he got us like 17, 16 fantasy points. And then again, he could get us like 4 fantasy points. You just never know. Chris Boswell, not really a great kicker, but a great matchup. Just tough. And then we have Robbie Gould, great kicker, not the best matchup. And if you're in super deep leagues, you can go with Matt Gay, Yunwei Koo, Joey Sly, and I really wouldn't recommend you going with Adam Vinatieri, who you really cannot trust. He's having a down year this year, missing a ton of kicks. Make sure you guys check out the link below in the description. Head on over to Monkey Knife Fight. Use promo code COUCH to get your 100% deposit match up to $50. It also really helps support this channel. Make sure you guys are subscribed to Fantasy Couch. Make sure you subscribe to our second YouTube channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. I wish you guys all good luck this week. Go get that W in the playoffs and let's make a championship run. Couch fam, peace out.